All right, so picture this for a second. A fleet of container ships, so huge, it could actually stretch across the English Channel, like we're talking end to end. That's how massive Maersk is. But even these giants, they can't just sit still. They have to adapt. And it seems like Maersk's trying to be more than just the we move your stuff across the ocean, guys.
And it's interesting because there's a lot of doubt swirling around them.
Yeah.
One investor report we were looking at even said the task for Maersk is still to show that all these logistics companies they're buying can actually make them more money. It's kind of brutal.
Yeah, investors don't sugarcoat it, do they? They're basically like, okay, Maersk, nice shopping spree, but where's the strategy here?
Exactly. And this is all happening while the global shipping industry is, well, let's just say it's a bit of a mess out there. 2023 has been anything beachy predictable. I mean, between the pandemic still causing ripples and that whole Suez Canal debacle, it's constant chaos. It's like this new normal everyone keeps talking about, but nobody really signed up for.
So I'm guessing this new normal is forcing companies to rethink their whole approach to supply chains, huh?
100%.
Right.
Like, look at Apple. They built their whole empire on making things in China. But with all the political tension lately, they're shifting gears. They call it friendshoring, basically moving some production to countries they've got closer ties with, bringing some manufacturing back to the U.S. with Foxconn,
Yeah.
Spreading the risk when the world feels shaky.
Yeah, don't put all your eggs in one basket, especially when that basket's on the other side of the world. Makes sense. But then on top of all that, there's the whole environmental concern, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Shipping is a huge EE polluter, and everyone's feeling the pressure to clean up their act. Customers are even willing to pay a premium for greener shipping options. But here's the problem. The sustainable fuel sources just aren't there yet to meet that demand. It's a catch-22.
So we've got disruptions, political uncertainty, a sustainability crunch, and Maersk decides this is the perfect time to make a big move. That's either really brave or a little crazy.
Well, they're calling it a transformation,
Yeah.
not a gamble. Their goal is to be the global integrator, not just shipping your goods, but managing your entire supply chain from factory to your customer's doorstep.
Yeah.
And they're putting their money where their mouth is. Big investments in logistics companies, software even bought themselves an airline.
Okay, so they're buying logistics companies, software, and airline. It's like they're trying to build their own little version of the global economy in-house.
It's a bold move, no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost feels like they're taking a page out of Amazon's playbook. Start with one core service like shipping, and then just branch out until you control the whole system. Like how Amazon went from books to basically everything Maersk wants to be, the only name businesses think of when they need to move goods internationally.
So their big promise is simplicity in a world of uncertainty. But isn't Maersk, by trying to get involved in every single step of the supply chain, actually making things more complicated?
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And this is where I think those investor concerns start to make a lot of sense. Maersk hasn't really defined what success looks like for this whole global integrator thing.
Yeah.
They haven't given us any concrete targets or key performance indicators.
Right.
So how are they measuring if this massive transformation is actually paying off?
So are there specific things they should be tracking, metrics that would tell investors that this isn't just some vanity project?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For one, they could compare the performance of their logistics and services unit to those traditional freight forwarders. Are they actually taking market share? Are they more profitable? Another key metric is customer retention and satisfaction. Are businesses actually finding it easier to work with Maersk because of this integrated approach? Those are the numbers investors want to see.
It's like they're saying, trust us, but they haven't shown us the roadmap. And it's not like Maersk is the only one trying to corner the market on supply chain management. The competition is intense, right?
Intense might be an understatement. We're seeing other shipping giants making huge moves too, like CGM. Their acquisition of Bolloré Logistics basically catapulted them into the top 5 global logistics players. That's massive. And it's not just acquisitions. They're investing heavily in tech platforms, data analytics, the whole 9 yards.
So it's a race to become the Amazon of shipping, but everyone's taking a different route. This is going to shake
Yeah.
things up for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And the traditional freight forwarders, the ones who've been managing supply chains for decades, they're feeling the pressure now that these shipping giants are moving in on their territory.
I bet they're not exactly thrilled about it.
Not one bit. They're arguing that these shipping giants have a built-in advantage because of this thing called tonnage tax.
Tonnage tax.
Yeah, basically, shipping companies pay taxes based on the size of their fleet, not how much profit they're actually making, which could be way lower.
Hold on. So how does that give them an unfair advantage? Explain it to me like I'm a shareholder who's about to see my profits disappear.
Imagine this. You're a traditional freight forwarder, right? And you're competing with Maersk, who, because of this tonnage tax, has billions of dollars in tax savings. Billions they can then use to undercut your prices, buy up your competitors, invest in fancy new tech, all while paying a fraction of the taxes you are. It's an uneven playing field, to say the least.
So they're essentially playing with house money, using these tax advantages to fuel their expansion. No wonder the freight forwarders are crying foul.
Exactly. And it's not just grumbling among competitors. Regulators are starting to pay attention. The EU, for instance, is investigating whether tonnage tax gives shipping companies an unfair advantage when expanding into land-based logistics. This could have massive implications for Maersk's strategy.
It's one thing to outmaneuver your competition. It's another thing entirely when governments step in and start rewriting the rules of the game.
Absolutely. But even with the competition and the regulatory scrutiny, the biggest question mark might be Maersk itself. Can they actually deliver on this grand vision?
Because all this sounds great in theory, but at the end of the day, investors want to see results.
Precisely. And this is where things get interesting. Despite the billions invested, Maersk's logistics and services unit isn't exactly setting the world on fire. In their most recent earnings report, L&S revenue actually declined by 4% year over year.
Ouch. That doesn't sound like the global integrator takeover they were hoping for. Are there specific parts of the business that are struggling?
It seems like the air freight division, which they went all in on with the Pilot Freight Services acquisition, is a big question mark. Integrating an airline into their existing infrastructure is proving more challenging and costly than they anticipated.
I have to admit, even I was surprised by that move. It seemed like they were spreading themselves a little thin.
And investors are starting to voice their concerns. ATP, a major shareholder, recently said that Maersk's transformation is taking longer and costing more than they expected. Even Maersk's new CEO, Vincent Clerc, has admitted to disappointing performance and hinted at potential downsizing in the coming months.
So, not exactly smooth sailing for Maersk's big bet. Is this just a bump in the road, or are there more fundamental issues with their strategy?
It's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? It's entirely possible that this is just a temporary setback. Transforming a company of Maersk's size takes time, and they're going up against some deeply entrenched competitors. But it does raise some important questions about the scalability and long-term viability of their approach. Can they really be everything to everyone in the global supply chain? Or will they have to make some tough choices, maybe even scale back their ambitions?
So much uncertainty. What does this all mean for businesses trying to navigate this increasingly complex world of global trade?
That's the question, isn't it? Imagine you're that CEO we talked about earlier. Would you bet your company's future on Maersk's vision of a fully integrated, seamless supply chain? Or would you hedge your bets, diversifying your suppliers and logistics providers? There's no easy answer, and that, to me, is what makes this whole story so fascinating. Only time will tell if Maersk's big bet will lead them to calmer waters, or if they're headed straight into a storm.